Google Organic not only drives traffic for me, but drives revenue. And that surprised me, and it shouldn't have surprised me. It surprised me a little bit in terms of how much, and compared to the effort I put in on the Facebook side, running ads in particular, the amount of revenue Google drives is significant.
Hi, I'm David Reimer, founder of Magnificent Marketing and host of the Magnificent Marketing Podcast. And in our podcast, we just team up with some of the brightest marketing minds in the entire world, where we dig into everyday problems that people are having in the marketing landscape, in addition to some of the big changes that happen. The one constant of marketing is change, and we make sure to stay on top of it. So if you're interested in learning and keeping on the cutting edge of all things marketing, subscribe to our podcast, start learning, and enjoy. Hello, everyone. I'm here again with John Loomer. And after a series of jobs as a bartender, insurance agent, and manager of fantasy games at the National Basketball Association, John accidentally went on to become arguably the foremost authority on successful Facebook marketing and has made Social Media Examiner's top 10 social blogs year over year. He launched the Power Hitters Club in 2014, which is a private community for advanced Facebook marketers, of which we are part of and highly, highly recommend. It's completely educated my team, and marketers who have access and shared with each other. And at the end of 2018, there were over 1,000 members in John's club, and it's growing. John, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Always fun talking with you, and always fun chatting with you about, we'll just touch on this real quick because I think it's important. John did become and has become a foremost authority on Facebook. And he started his business, and I remember this from the presentation I saw he do at Content Marketing Institute, where he did it because he was tired of the rat race, tired of working and not being fulfilled and not having the freedom to spend time with his children. And at the time, he had a child who was going through cancer that is now about to graduate or go to college. And so we're going to be getting into Facebook attribution tool and everything you need to know. But I just want to point out that John also speaks on healthy work-life balance, and he talks about that a lot as well. And if you go to johnloomer.com, you will find out about that. So yes, we're here to talk about business, but when I see somebody also spreading other great messages, I definitely want to point it out. And kudos to you, John, for not only caring about work, but work-life balance. It's very important for entrepreneurs to hear that people like you are concentrating on that.
Thanks.
So, how are you doing today, John?
Hey, I'm great. It's Friday. I feel awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is Friday, and I'm very happy. Long, great week, but I like the weekends better.
You bet.
So, all right. So again, we'll talk about work-life balance some other time. Today's focus is going to be on the Facebook attribution tool. Very, very important topic, because we need to know what's working. We need to know what adjustments need to be made and how we can be more successful. But just for those who aren't quite familiar with that term, can you just quickly explain what attribution is?
Quickly. Okay. Tough. It's tough. This is a brand new tool. Okay. It's a brand new tool. That's come out during the last few months. And really the main purpose of it is to help you get a more holistic view of how various platforms, paid and organic, are impacting your conversions and results.
Okay.
So it basically equalizes it, because you don't have to pull all that information from different areas that all measure conversions differently. And it's a very valuable tool.
Gotcha. So we're basically looking to determine results of one form in one
results.
Form.
Yeah. So conversions, revenue, and also a shared level of attribution. So how much did a certain platform contribute to conversion along the conversion journey? Because, for example, you may hit the same user with an ad on Facebook, with an email, with something organic on Google, and each of those things contributed, and where along the journey did that happen?
See, that's very key. And let me pull this out real quick here. We're talking about not, because that's been, and I'll tell you, been a bugaboo for us, because a lot of times people have this view of a linear marketing strategy, which, yes, for e-com you have particular campaigns that you can directly track. This, boom, it's working great. And that's not going to go away. But also when you get into different types of buyer's journey that isn't that direct, oh, I love this trinket, I'm going to buy it. I love this blouse, I'm going to buy it. You do search around, you go here, you go there, you see it once, you see it twice. So trying to figure out how much your impact on Facebook is moving the needle outside of just that direct purchase. You're telling me that's what can be done now. You can see if a Facebook ad touched somebody and then they made it through your website through like a Google search or something else. That's what we can track now.
So basically we're looking at a broader view of saying, okay, we've got all of these sources. It'll tell you sources of traffic, first of all. You got Google, you got Facebook, or so not looking at a ad by ad basis or anything like that, but you got Google organic, Google paid, Facebook organic, Facebook paid. In my case, Infusionsoft, but it could a whole bunch of different sources in there, and then it indicates, okay, so how many of the people, or how much of this traffic resulted in, say, website registration? How many of them resulted in a paid conversion? How much revenue totally in all did resulted from it? So again, it's a more holistic view, not zeroing in on necessarily specific ads in this case.
Gotcha. So basically what we're going to be able to determine is if the person who ended up converting to whatever that might be did ever, or at least in a certain period of time, which we'll get into some of the details here, did at one point in time see a message that was delivered to you from Facebook. Not directly, but at one point in time, over a period of time. Again, we'll get into that. Is that basically?
Again, I mean, we're looking at our entire audience. We're not going to be looking at an individual person.
Yeah.
But yeah. So example would be too. It's like, okay, I've got this campaign running, and the Facebook and Facebook ads tell me it's resulting. I've generated 100 paid conversions over the last week. And you're not sure. I was like, well, I was also running emails. So, and some of those conversions were view only, and they converted within the day. So how much did email contribute? There are attribution models, for example, that then will help show how that conversion is distributed between them. So you can say that, if there are 5 different places that someone touched an ad or a piece of content from me in this journey before converting, they shared equally, or you say whatever they touched last, that gets the most attribution, but there are different models, so you can determine how that's split up. Whereas in the past, or if you're not using this tool, you're like, they clicked that ad on Google and then they converted, so Google gets the credit. Or they clicked on that ad on Facebook, so Facebook gets the credit. Now we're seeing it being shared across the different platforms.
I love that. And again, we're not here as marketers or Facebook, advocates saying we want to prove that what we're doing is moving the needle. Mm-hmm. What we're really wanting to find out is what the heck is attributing to this needle getting moved. And it's to make future good decisions. So again, we're not making a case. We're not here coming in with a bias of trying to push that. No, we are trying to see, because the answer might be Facebook's not helping anything,
sure.
Or it might be like, man, Facebook's helping 4 times more than we thought because, Ann Handley talks about this all the time, is like a multi-channel approach, hit people all which way to Sunday. And because the buyer's journey is anything but linear these days, especially for like 95% of businesses out there. So this, again, everybody, this is huge for decision-making purposes. So I'm not going to get into the weeds of how to set everything up. We're not going to do that here today. We're here to talk higher level, but I will let everybody know that John wrote a post, a step-by-step post, and we will put this link within the write-up that we do on this podcast. Found somebody wants to go check it out right now as you're listening to it. It's johnloomer.com/2018/1030. So October 30th, 2018, Facebook-attribution-tool.
And so if you just do johnloomer.com/Facebook-attribution-tool, it'll take you there too.
That was probably an easier way to say that. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, check it out. details within that. But again, we don't want to take up the time doing something you can read and follow, which you need to do anyways if you're going to be setting it up. Okay, so there's that. So now, but post setup. I do want to go higher level here and talk about strategies, maybe specific trends, relationships that you want to identify and why. So I would love for you to use a specific real or hypothetical example. Like, what are some of the strategies or trends? What are we looking out for? What should people think about before they go to set it up? Like, the why. Like, what am I really trying to figure out here? What are some of the things?
Well, kind of an example of how it fills in the gaps. I mean, right now, you don't really know how Facebook organically contributes to your results. How it contributes to maybe link clicks, but you don't know how many sales and how many conversions and how much revenue results from that. Facebook doesn't give you that within the main page settings and page results. So in Ads Manager, you're only getting the paid contributions. So the first thing is, this is helping you understand, if you have a client, for example, or if you manage ads for yourself, you're not sure what organic contributes. Now you can see it. So it's, okay, well, I'm getting all these people this reach or these clicks on it, but I don't know what they're doing. Now you know what they're doing. You're not seeing it on a post-by-post basis, but now you know generally how effective that is. So that can help you determine whether you want to continue investing in doing things organically or not. I'll tell you where this opened my eyes, though, is, and it kind of validated a lot of things I've been doing, but also told me why I need to invest a little bit differently. Google Organic not only drives traffic for me, but drives revenue. And that surprised me, and it shouldn't have surprised me. It surprised me a little bit in terms of how much, and compared to the effort I put in on the Facebook side, running ads in particular, the amount of revenue Google drives is significant. And I haven't been spending $1 on AdWords. I just have natural, good SEO, whatever, magic, luck, whatever you want to call it.
It's anything but luck, but yeah.
But, historically, I've had it and I kind of take it for granted. I've had it for the past several years. I get traffic. But I didn't really know necessarily, maybe I didn't pay enough attention. And again, these are in separate reports. I didn't see it in one place to compare and have one place that measures things in an equal manner to say, I'm getting this much revenue out of Google compared to Facebook Organic and Facebook Paid. I'm like, I need to spend more money. I need to start spending money on Google AdWords. So I've started doing that now. So that's one example for me. Another example for me, though, would be, so historically, especially within the last couple of years, I've moved to leveraging Facebook ads in terms of revenue, two primary ways. The first is driving traffic to my website in order to build my audience and have people to remarket to who have seen my stuff before, who are likely to end up buying and this and that. The second group of people is building my email list through Facebook ads. And I spent quite a bit on that. And I spent a little bit on driving, on selling stuff. But that's to the smallest audience because I want people who actually know my stuff. And I don't necessarily want to sell to new people. I know that's kind of a crazy thought to most people, but I want people who are likely to.
You want to give before you receive. And you know that. Well,
exactly. And I don't want people who know what to expect when they buy it, as opposed to, who is this guy? Oh, he convinced me to buy this thing. I'm going to buy it. Oh, that's not what I thought it was going to be. I'm not very happy. I want my money back. Then you get all this stuff to deal with. So that's the way I use it. So I spend the least on selling. That said, I use my email list to sell, in addition to other things. But now I see it in this report, why that approach makes sense. So I see, yes, the vast majority of list building is done via Facebook Paid, but the most revenue comes from my email list.
All right,
Infusionsoft being number one.
Love it. So let me recap my understanding of all this and break it down for the listeners on real world example. And thank you for giving a real world example. because theory is great.
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear real things, because that's frustrating for a lot of listeners when they go to presentations and stuff. So again, what John was able to identify by setting all this up, he smoked out two things. One thing that he was surprised about, and one thing that he assumed, but he got validated. He first found out through using this tool that he's getting a lot of business organically. So what does that tell John? Two things. One, let me invest in SEM or pay-per-click, because obviously people are going online to look for services like mine. And to John's point, I should have known, but I didn't. But I can't even, I have more things that I should have done, and I figured it out later than ever. So it just happens to all of us. And if you're not figuring those things out, then you're not learning and growing. So nothing to be ashamed about. You figured it out. You learned it. Number two, John also found out from that happening, it's like, I didn't realize I have so much from organic. I need to potentially invest more into SEO. I don't know if you're doing that or not, but you might have a little bit more of a strategic plan in place to continually put a focus on that. And other companies might do that too. When they come to us and we talk about SEO organic, I'm like, well, do you get any business from that? Why are we going to invest in a very long-term plan if it's going to take you 3 years to get there because it's super competitive, or you don't really get business that way? Or the flip side, you do get a lot of business. Okay, it's worth it to put a 12, 18-month plan in place to get you organic. So John was able to figure that out. Number two, and something he already assumed, but he got validated, so now he gets to put full focus and energy to, is to just basically, pump up the volume on your plan, which is to drive people with content and helpful stuff to your email list, because from your email list is where you get your money. So that was, not only did he get to see something new to do, he got to put more focus and energy to what he thought was working. But I'll tell you, you run full speed when you know you're going the right direction, and you kind of zigzag around when you don't. So those are big, big takeaways. These are real life decisions, and he's identified those. So John, did I hear that right?
You did.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Love it. All right. Just a couple of, these are kind of tactical questions, but I just want to bring them out. How long does it take to start getting some meaningful data, and how far back can you track these journeys and paths people are taking?
Well, so first of all, the one kind of annoying part of it's kind of like installing your pixel for the first time on your website, that Facebook's not going to give you historical data from before you installed the pixel. Same thing here. When you set this up, you'd think they'd be able to provide historical data, but they don't. You connect, select which pixels are connected to a line of business, select ad accounts that are connected to that line of business. You start adding things like other ad platforms that you use, all that. But as soon as you set it up, it starts building from that point forward. So when you start seeing meaningful results is going to depend kind of on volume. And, like if you get, millions of people coming to your website every month, then you're going to see some results pretty quickly. If you get very low volume, it might take some time.
Gotcha.
So now one of the beauties of this is that, this gets complicated, but there's something called a Facebook attribution window. And the advertisers are probably familiar with that. Essentially, by default, Facebook counts a conversion if it happened within 28 days of someone clicking an ad,
28,
or within a day of just seeing an ad without clicking on it.
That's fair.
The one thing about this though is that you have wide control of altering that attribution window. So not only can you say, "Oh, I want to focus only on clicks" or whatever, or you can change the attribution window to different amount of days as well. You can go all the way out to 90 days and say, well, maybe you sell a car, you sell real estate or whatever. It's like a conversion could take longer than 28 days. So after the first time they engage with your content, maybe it takes up to 90 days. So you can spread that window out to 90 days.
You should, right? I mean, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, why not? Yeah. You want to know if this ever was seen. What is it? We work with NASP, National Association of Sales Professionals. So I'm around hearing data like this. And I think they said currently the new study that came out was 15 to 20 touches. And in real estate, it's like, I just talked because we're doing some stuff to market real estate. It's like 36 touches. They have like a 36 something. They even call it something in Keller Williams. So so you got to understand, like, all of this plays into the equation. It's not linear. So absolutely, positively back it up, not to prove the Facebook case, but to see if Facebook had anything to do with it. Right. And you have to assume it does. If somebody saw 5 things dating back 90 days and then they ended up directly going to your website, I promise you Facebook had something to do with that.
And once again, it's not only going to loop in Facebook stuff, it's going to come in from Google and everywhere else too. So it's not, you're not just focusing on Facebook there. But then that's related to, again, those Facebook attribution models now, where you can determine how you attribute each conversion and how you spread it out. So you've got one conversion, it's been touched at 5 different platforms. How are you going to share that one conversion? You can help define that, because Facebook has like 6 or 7 different models there too. It's complicated and kind of confusing for anyone being exposed to it for the first time. But it's really powerful once you get it.
It's everything. And we put a focus on this right now. And then this came from you, learning from you. I saw it and I was like, team, like, this couldn't have come at a better time. This is like our complete focus. Like, because we're just really big into this right now. And I will tell you, it's been one of our head banging against the wall situations to deal with in the past few years. It's like, how do we attribute this whole thing? The buyer's journey is friggin' one of those mazes, and this finally is adding some clarity, and it's so awesome. And let me backtrack another real life example that I had written down and I skipped over, because you gave such good specific examples for yourself. But like, we talk about like the benefit of organic and making decisions on that. Lots of times you will have like a really cool campaign you want to do. You do this infographic and you get the entire company to share it out, and you're doing this big organic push because you're rallying around. Doesn't cost you dollars per se, but it sure does take a lot of labor and time and thought to do something. So you're like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Did I get like this organic traffic that is probably maybe a fifth of what you would maybe get from like paid and everything? Right. You're like, wow, that 20% of that traffic converted at like an 18 times higher rate. Absolutely. Let's start thinking about other creative ways to get organic engagement, because you're not just going to get organic engagement from saying I want it. You got to do it planning something out that deserves organic engagement.
Or at least you can now see those people who engage with the organic content. They're now given a share, potentially, if they did convert eventually. You're seeing a share of that conversion. So yes, there's value in that. I think kind of along those similar lines is like, we can look at mobile as being something maybe isn't effective, because you look at your ad reports, and I'm going to break it down by placement and mobile and desktop. And I see that, by desktop, 90% of my sales come from desktop, only 10% from mobile. The cost per conversion is so much higher on mobile. Mobile must not be working. But the reality is, and this is one of the things that Facebook attribution tool will show you, is how many of those people who converted saw it first on mobile, then on desktop before they converted. So that mobile then gets a share of it. That view gets a share of it. Is it contribute to that conversion? Because maybe if they only saw it on desktop, that desktop conversion rate wouldn't be as high as it was.
I mean, that is. I hope everyone appreciates this podcast today, because I mean, these are like absolute table stake gems. Like, you have to be doing this stuff. You won't know what's working. And you will make wrong decisions. You will either put too much money towards something, or you will pull it away from that example right there. It has to be one of the most common ways a purchase is made. And again, I probably need a lot more data to put a fact behind this statement, but I would stick my neck out and say a very common conversion purchase is somebody sees it on mobile, they see it again, they go home, they get on their computer, their laptop, their iPad, and they make a purchase. I mean, that just has to happen. I'll tell you right now, I am definitely a desktop purchaser.
Me too.
My wife is all mobile, but I am absolute a desktop kind of person, and maybe I'm just not quite a millennial.
It's how easy is it to complete the purchase, right? So if it's Amazon, they got all your stuff. Yeah, I make purchases on Amazon. But if I got to go through some clanky old site that I've never used before, and they're asking me to input all my credit card information and everything else, I'm like, it's a waste of time. I'm going to do it from desktop, or I'll forget about it and not do it.
Yeah, until you see another ad and you retarget it
from desktop. But yeah.
All right, man, this has been great. Let's let's go to the very beginner here. Obviously, Google John Loomer, Facebook attribution tool. Read through that first, get an understanding. Listen to this, because you got to get a high level overview of what you're going to be learning, and then learn the details. But lots of stuff to do, right? And if you're just getting going, you're a solopreneur or a one-person marketing team. Okay, what's the number one thing you would tell a beginner to use this tool for? Like, what's the number one thing if they only have 10% of the time to really put into, a full scope? What would you say to do?
Well, honestly, it just gives you a quick view of now, assuming you have the pixel installed on your website.
So do that.
Yeah, so that needs to be there for any of this to happen. You don't have to connect all the additional platforms if you're not running ads from anywhere else or anything. Just make sure when you set up your line of business on this, you've got a pixel installed and connect that. That's going to give you a lot of information right away. It's not going to break up paid and organic or anything like that, but it's going to say Facebook organic drove this. And if you use Infusionsoft or MailChimp or whatever, it's going to say that drove that many conversions. It's going to say Google drove this many conversions, Twitter, whatever. Like it doesn't matter the source. You don't have to add it manually. So just setting up your line of business and including your pixel in there is going to give you a much better, clearer view of how everything contributes. Now, you're not going to know the difference between paid and organic until you start doing a little bit more work. But I mean, that's just right away.
That's number one thing. And what about the back end of that, receiving this information? Does it come automatically? Do you got to set that up?
So, I mean, once you set up your line of business, Facebook then pulls it all in, pulls all the information. But it's not instantaneous. It might be until the next day or a few hours until you actually see anything. But once again, it's going to be building from that day forward anyway. So if you don't get much volume, it's going to be interesting. You're like, oh, there's that from those 5 people who came to my website yesterday. But so it might take some time to get something really useful depending on how much traffic you get.
Understood. But bottom line is you need to start right now if you don't have this pixel set up.
Yep.
All right, let's dust off your crystal ball here. Lots of talk around Facebook, right? I have been and am still a big advocate of it, just because of results. But all this chatter and stuff, what's your crystal ball for Facebook in the next year or two? Still a great platform. Do you still see it, being the big, industry leader? Do you see it tailing off? Do you see issues happening? Like, what do you see? And again, not going to hold you to any of this. I'm just curious what one of the foremost gurus of Facebook thinks.
First of all, I hate making predictions.
I know.
But I'll say this. If you asked me anything about, what my feelings were about the future of Facebook a couple of years ago, I would have been, nothing but positive in this time. I'm watching very closely everything that's happening with Facebook regarding government oversight, regarding all the PR that's happening because of privacy concerns. All of this impacts what Facebook can do. It also impacts the usage of Facebook, whether that's going to decline, how it's going to be used. So I don't really have a crystal ball, but for the first time, I'd say I'm a little concerned in terms of what direction it's going to be heading in the next 2 years. So that said, they're a behemoth. So we're not talking about MySpace, because they didn't have, we think of MySpace being huge. They were huge comparatively back then.
Yeah.
But they're nowhere near what Facebook is right now. So a decline, they could face a significant decline and still be very useful to a marketer 2 years from now.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah. And I think that people, that's what, shiny object, same with gossip, same with stuff. You overreact, knee-jerk reactions, and everything that John's talking about. We're talking about years and years. Now, on our staff, I say, hey, we need to start really paying attention to Snapchat. We don't have a lot of clients that have that younger demographic, but in 2 years, those aren't going to be a younger demographic anymore. So, everybody just needs to continue to learn, continue to stay on top of everything, continue to learn from people like John Loomer, of all things Facebook. He truly has taken our staff to the next level through ongoing trainings. He's He's the number one thing that we continue to invest in, and we'll continue to do so and learn from. So for other people, John, I don't think you're going to be too hard to find, but how can people track you down?
JohnLoomer.com. That's JONLOOMER.com. Otherwise, Facebook.com/John Loomer Digital or @John Loomer on Twitter.
All right. Well, John, appreciate your insight. Always super fun talking with you. And until next time.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the latest podcast. Feel free to go to magnificent.com/blog to see the show notes for this interview, as well as those from many other of the world's top marketing experts. Have a great day.